forward, young Muslims, wherever you are, in the shadow of the sun or by the light of a star. Your supreme protector is Almighty Allah. Go forward, young Muslims, wherever you are. Go forward, young Muslims, whoever you are. Press forward and forward to the light of Allah, and repeat, Alhamdulillah. Go forward, young Muslims, whoever you are.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to our program, Teens and Parents. Who am I? I am your host. Of course, you haven't figured that out yet. Bilal Abdul Kareem. In this program, we're going to be discussing matters of importance to parents and to teens alike. Now, what is today's topic? Hip-hop culture and role model. Now, who is a role model? We're going to discuss all of these issues because this is something that even the average person can talk some lyrics or something from the radio that they've heard from hip-hop music and such like that. Hip-hop music, is it benefiting us? Is it harming us? This is what we're going to discuss here today. Stay with us. We'll be back in a few short minutes with a couple of very special guests. Stay tuned.
Go forward, young Muslims, wherever you are, in the shadow of the sun or by the light of a star.
Hip-hop plays a big role in actually damaging people's character. They look up to people like 50 Cent and Tupac, and it increases violence among youth because they believe, when they listen to music, they believe, especially rap, because rap portrays materialism, it portrays violence, it portrays women, alcoholism, so it portrays a lot of bad elements in the society. And I believe a lot of youths are picking up things from hip-hop and trying to implement them in their lives.
Go forward, young Muslims, wherever you are, in the shadow of the sun or by the light of a star.
Welcome back. I am your host, Bilal Abdul Kareem, and we are going to tackle this issue, hip-hop culture and role models. Now, I believe, and Allah knows best, I have one of the best people who can help us to tackle this particular issue. He actually happens to be an old friend of mine. And we're going to discuss this topic here alongside with him. He himself is a poet among many, many other things. And he's my good friend, and inshallah he will be yours too. And he is Sheikh Ali Rasul. And I'd like to say to you, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'm glad that you're here because it's a topic certainly I can't tackle all by myself.
Alhamdulillah. I'm glad to be here with you to assist you in this tackle.
Inshallah, inshallah. I guess, what is it? You hit them high, I hit them low, right? Well, by now you know the topic, hip-hop culture and role models. Mm-hmm. But before we get into the actual topic, I think it's going to be beneficial for you to share a little bit with us about yourself and your background and your poetry and stuff like that. Tell us something about that.
Pretty much at the time when I became a Muslim, and I don't want to say when, it's been such a long time ago, that may give away my age. It was hip-hop was just getting started. It had a very strong impact on the youth. If you didn't memorize a rhyme, you weren't hip, you weren't down, you weren't cool. So, of course, I had to learn some rhymes, I had to learn some lines. And actually, that started before I actually became a Muslim. And it was very strange, there was someone telling me, to say Assalamu alaikum. And I'm trying to, say wa alaikum assalam. He's telling me to respond this way. At the time, I didn't know that was Arabic. At the time, I didn't know that was the greeting of Islam and the Muslims. And then slightly after that, there was this pressure, the peer pressure to learn lyrics, learn something in order for you to be hip, to be down, to be cool, to be accepted. So I memorized some rhymes, and then after that, I had become Muslim. Since the topic here and now is not how I became a Muslim, I'll just say that I became Muslim slightly after that. And so what that did for me was, well, I can do this Islamically, you know, and I said, you know, if this has such a strong impact on the youth and how they think and what they do, then I need to make a contribution Islamically so that there'll be a positive effect on their minds. Because as I understood and believed at that time, I was very young, but still I had the understanding from the khutbahs that I would hear and from the classes and so forth, that the environment that surrounds us, whether it's adult, a child, or a woman, it affects you in how you think, what you do, how you behave. So I said, well, if I can have a contribution, you know, to replace that negativity with positivity so that the youth, the Muslim youth, will have an alternative and something that would help them Islamically, then I want to do that. So I took that as my responsibility. So I started writing poetry and writing Islamic, you know, what I call Islamic raps. Well, what they called, because I've actually even changed that name and I called it rhythmic poetry. Okay? And so I started writing, I started performing, you know, going to different Islamic events and performing. And at first I performed for free just to get myself out there, to get myself known. And then eventually developed a little fan club, you know, and they would pay to, you know, have me come to different programs. And it peaked with an event that happened in what they called New Medina. The Muslims had gotten together and bought a lot of land. As far as you could see, it was their land. And the first thing they built was the masjid. And then they started to build the houses around the masjid. And so they brought entertainers, Islamic entertainers from all around in America to perform. And so I didn't have money at the time. You know, I was young and I didn't have money. You know, so they said, look, just come. Bring your books, bring your tapes, and when you sell them, then you can pay for your ticket. You know, I don't know if you want me to tell you all in detail exactly what happened, but if I get too long-winded and you want to cut me off, cut me off. But this was the most exciting moment for me in my rap, you know, experience.
Sure.
I went down and the top Islamic performers in America came there. So I was like, wow, you know, I had an opportunity to perform on the same stage as the top performers, because at the time I looked up to them. They weren't rapping, but they had different Islamic songs, and I looked up to them. I tried to make my whole life Islamic at this time. So everything, I wouldn't listen to songs from the radio or anything like this. So when I went down there, and I was nervous, you know, I was shy, very shy initially. So how can I perform and I'm shy? I'll be stiff and standing there and trying to rap and perform. So I said, look, Ali, look, this is a performance. You're performing. You just do this, and then you can go relax, you know. And so I would practice in the mirror before I got on stage. And before that, my tape, someone was playing my tape to try to help me sell it the day before. So they were saying, forget LL Cool J. Now we got our own guy, Ali Rasul, you know. And they would play it all day long. So when the next day came, it was the time for me to perform. And so I was trying to get myself motivated, you know. And just before I was called up, the guy said, and now the guy that y'all have been waiting for.
Now here you are on stage with all of these heavy hitters.
Right.
And they introduce you as the one you've all been waiting for.
Yeah, because they were playing my rap all day yesterday. So they were like, now, you know, now the guy that you've all been waiting for, Ali Rasul. So I grabbed them. At first I ran up the steps. Good thing I didn't trip. I ran up the steps, grabbed the mic, and I said, are y'all ready? And you heard this crowd of people just say, yeah. And then I said, hit it. And then the beat started, because at the time I had beats, you know, drums and stuff backing it up. So I did like about five different pieces, And when I finished, they didn't want me to stop. I got a standing ovation. Everybody stood up. They didn't want me to stop.
MashaAllah.
So I did one more, And then after that, I tried to come down off the steps. They crowded the bottom of the steps, and they wouldn't let me come off the steps. They wanted autographs. So now I'm selling tapes and signing autographs, And then after that, we went back to the hotel because we were staying in a hotel. The following day, I still had a few books left. My tapes were sold out, the rap tapes, but my poetry books, there was still a few left. So I said, let me try to sell the rest of them here, I put them out on the table, and there were two kids. They said, it's him! So I said, khalas. I closed the box, went and sat on the bus until we left. So I was able to see the impact that we could make on the minds of the youth, But we have to put the positive, before them to have that positive impact.
But what about some of these performers who, they'll tell you, I'm not a role model. Raise your own kids. And they have this, they might be an actor, advertising drugs, violence, prostitution, whatever it is. He might be an actor, he might be a singer, he might be a hip-hop artist, and we've certainly seen that. And some of them don't feel any responsibility towards the message that they are portraying. They'll say, look, I don't have to, feel any responsibility towards it because I'm not a role model. I'm just a guy here trying to get paid just like you try to do when you go and you go to work. This is how I work. You raise your own kids. I'm going to need to ask you about that. We're going to bring on another guest because we got to take on a break. But we're going to come back to this topic. It's going to be the first thing we do. Agreed? Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Let's go to a break. Come right back. Sheikh Ali Rasool.
Go forward, young Muslims, wherever you are, in the shadow of the sun or by the light of a star.
One thing about gangster rap is it's sort of degrading, but at the same time I understand where they're coming from. They're talking about what's going on in the streets and whatnot, but at the same time they're kind of glorifying this image of materialism, and that in order to be somebody you must have. And I like to kind of lay that stereotype aside and just kind of let people know that that's really not what hip-hop was intended for. And the whole drug use and the drug consumption in hip-hop was also something that was brought on, I believe, by the media.
Forward, young Muslims, wherever you are, in the shadow of the sun or by the light of a star.
The true life of the Muslim starts at death. If you wish to enhance your knowledge of the Islamic perspective on the hereafter, this life doesn't go on forever, but we do so little to prepare for it because most of us don't know what happens after this life ends. If you want to be amongst those who know, then join us every Saturday at 1930 GMT for the inevitable journey.
Go forward, young Muslims, wherever you are, in the shadow of the sun or by the light of a star.
Welcome back. Teens and parents, I'm your host Bilal Abdul Kareem, and I am with our guest Ali Rasool, but we also have another guest who has joined us, and he is a poet, a lyricist, among other things, and he is Raqib al-Nasri. So let's give him a nice salam with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Akhi, it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
And hopefully the ride wasn't too tough for you either.
Yeah.
Okay? So look, we're going to get into this topic even more. But I asked Ali Rasool a question, and I'm going to even throw it to you also. But let's let him tackle it first. And that question was about responsibility, being responsible for the messages. Are the performers responsible? Should they be responsible for their messages or not?
Without a shadow of a doubt. They are before the eyes of the public, the women, the children, the men. And so because of that, they have even more of a responsibility than the individual. So even if they don't think they have a responsibility, they do. And they affect large numbers of people. So, we need to hold them accountable. And even those who put them forward, those who produce them, need to be held accountable. If you know that the children are the future, if they corrupt the children, then they are corrupting our future.
Okay. What do you think? Do you think that they have a responsibility towards the message and the people that they convey the message to?
Like brother said, they have, it's a big responsibility, especially as a hip-hop artist or as a rap artist, whereas this music or this type of art is especially about lyrics. So of course they're very responsible, because what it is about is a message. Mm-hmm. This is how rap started and hip-hop started. So they have to feel responsible. It's not a normal job. It's not like he's working in an office. No, he's working in front of maybe thousands or millions of people, listeners, radio, when they buy the CD. So yeah, he has to feel responsible, even if he doesn't feel like it. He has to put himself in that state of mind.
Okay. How do these people know that you guys are real lyricists? Right now, correct me if I'm wrong, people, but right now it's just all theory, isn't it? We don't know if these guys are any good. They may be good. They may not be good. Right now it's all theory. Let's turn that theory into a little bit of a reality. Well, let's just let Ali Rasul go first, because he's the sheikh.
Of course.
Okay? So can you give us some a sample of your whatever's in your lyric laboratory? That's what they call it.
Yeah. I'll try to dig back into the past here, because I'm, I guess, what they might call old school by now. But this is one of the first, actually probably the first rap or rhythmic poem that I wrote. But still, I love it still, even till today, and people still seem to be impressed by it. So I'll give you that one. Inshallah. Bismillah. We are Muslims in America, and we're on the move. We have a mission in America to teach the truth. We're going to uncover the blanket so the people can see all the falsehoods turn to reality. We're going to set the clocks for the others you see, for they've been asleep since way back in slavery time, for that's how long they've controlled their minds. The people in power is giving them sleeping pills, and they said, oh yeah, see how good it feels to say we don't have to wait for another year, because in the real world we're full of fear. Now, Al-Islam's the only religion that can wake them up, because it ain't no playing, it's serious stuff. And when they all wake up, they will cry, let me take my shahada before I die. Let me make my salat, let me pay my zakat, let me please Allah by doing a lot. Let me not stop here, make sunnah salat. Let me fast during Ramadan and go on Hajj to prove this religion from Allah is no mirage. They will give what they learn to society and support the Imam's Islamic elite. And when they do all this work, they will see that Al-Islam is based on reality. That Al-Islam is based on reality. That Al-Islam is based on reality.
Mashallah, mashallah. That's good, huh? That's really good. See, that, that's new for y'all. It's not new for me, because he's my friend, so I know this stuff. Okay, now, we're going to move on, because, now, this is not theory anymore. We're convinced. Okay? Now, we got another theory here, and we're going to have an opportunity to see if he, too, is as good as we know him to be. So let's give him a shot. Raqib, this is your opportunity. Go ahead, give us a sample.
All right. So, bro, I'm going to spit right now. Let me go. I'm not pessimistic, I'm just being realistic. Mirage could get me a arrested, it's fine, I'll just risk it. Like Pac said, there's no peace in the Middle East. Some kids dead, Shaf al-Eid, an Islamic feast. The ground is red because the blood covering the streets. Peace of war, it's like the beauty and the beast. When the West, like cancer, it's a disease. It's approved by the sheikh and by the priest. I stand tall, spin truths at least, telling the old people, there's no peace.
Sounds good, right? MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Listen, see, I too, at one point, was a wannabe rap star. Notice I said wannabe, you know. And I had a couple of songs also. Y'all never heard of me? Did you hear me? No. No problem, no problem. I better stick to my night job, right? Okay, now, mashallah, you know,
there are a lot of young people, I think this is worth mentioning, that try to identify with Islam, but instead their version of identifying with Islam is what they call 5%ers or what they call, these other types of versions of Islam. And they try to call themselves gods, and they say they're a part of God and so forth. So maybe if there are some young people watching this at this time, they might appreciate these few lines that I wrote in regards to that says, you say you're God, yet you're running from the cops. Shot dead when you're shot in the back. Missed in the head unless you face the facts. You're not a God, or could you ever be? It's just another form of slavery. It's just another form of slavery. It's just another form of slavery. It's longer than that, but that's just a little something for them to think about.
A little touch of
it.
Yeah. Okay. All right, what we're going to discuss now is the hip-hop culture, the gangster life. Rocky, what's that about?
The gangster life, like the gangster rap started, correct me if I'm wrong, started almost in the 90s. And it's like some of it started with reality. Like like rap is especially, like real rap, I'm talking about real rap, real hip hop, it's about reality, it's about life. So some rappers connected their rap or their lyrics to their day-to-day life, which was real. Like in the ghetto, in the hood, getting shot, Bloods, Cribs, all that. And then it became, they started like any other art where money is getting involved. They started to commercialize it and make it bigger. So like nowadays, there's a lot of rappers that are fake. They claim that they're gangster. Because teenagers think it's cool to be gangster, to be tough. So it became an image. Like there's a lot of big rappers, big stars, they claim that they're gangsters just because they got shot, or just because they're big, or they look evil, or they just act evil. And these are the type of artists that I call studio gangsters, because they're only a gangster when they're in the studio, because he'll be rhyming about killing people, and I did this and I did that, whereas he didn't do anything. So that's what's gangster rap about.
Okay. My name is Bilal Abdul Kareem. Teens and parents, Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Go forward, young Muslims, wherever you are, in the shadow of the sun or by the light of a star. Your supreme protector is Almighty Allah. Go forward, young Muslims, wherever you are. Go forward, young Muslims, whoever you are. Press forward and forward to the light of Allah, and repeat, Alhamdulillah. Go forward, young Muslims, whoever you are.